generational curse is really about understanding what the curse is to begin with. It's not some magical or mystical thing. It's really looking at your trauma responses, understanding where they started, and then telling yourself the truth of what happened, forgiving yourself, grieving the trauma that happened to you, and then creating a new narrative. So we cancel these negative narratives and then we change them to the absolute truth of what God was doing in that moment. And sometimes it's a hard truth to accept. But once you accept it, nobody can change it, because the truth is the truth is the truth. And so once you understand that, your life changes. And so because I am on a mission, that's where the agent comes in. And I've accepted the mission. Should you choose to accept? And I said, okay, God, I accept it. And he said, the enemy is going to come for you because you're snatching people back from the things he's trying to keep them in bondage. And I was like, okay, surround me with people who understand that, who get the assignment and will cover me as I'm going through.
You're listening to the First Class Life Show, hosted by Lindsey Vertner, a holistic personal development show for high-achieving leaders who desire to maximize their impact while creating a life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness. So grab a drink, grab your notebook, and let's get started.
Hey, 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 how are you doing, First Class family? Welcome back to another episode of the First Class Life Show with your host, Lindsey Vertner. That is moi, as you know. And I'm really excited for today's guest, Miss Ayana Henderson, because she is a blast and a half, and I just love her to pieces, okay? And I know that you will too. And listen, we know that you are out there maximizing your impact while creating your first class life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness, as the show suggests. And so we just got to get right into the conversation because you don't got time to waste, honey. All right. So Miss Ayana, welcome to the First Class Life Studios. How are you?
I'm doing well. Hey, everybody. Excited to be here. Listen, we coming with full energy today, so I hope y'all are ready.
Yes. Now listen, I know the goodness of Ayana, but I need for you to share with the people, who is Ayana really? Give us the good tea, spill the juice, spill the milk, spill the beans, whatever you need to spill. But tell us, who is Ayana Henderson for real?
Listen. I am, a true Boston native, but I swear I was born in the South and I found my way back. So I now currently live in Georgia, and it feels like home. Like, it feels like I wasn't even born and raised in Boston. Don't tell the people in Boston. Okay, don't tell the people in Boston I said that, okay? But I am a mom of 4. I have one, I feel like in each age group. I have a 22-year-old, a 17-year-old, a 12-year-old, and a 10-year-old. Only one of them is a girl, and they definitely keep me on my toes. I have been married. We'll be celebrating 7 years this Friday. Super excited. Boo, 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 boo. And I have been a Jacqueline of all trades. I've been a massage therapist. I've been a pastry chef. I've worked in human resources for over 10 years. I have done so many different things. My mom calls me a professional student. And I'm like, you know what? I'm a nerd and I love it. So right now, I am currently the generational change agent. My goal is to snatch back the Black family from the enemy, to break generational curses, and to allow the Black mom to change the trajectory of her legacy by accelerating her healing. So that's me. That's the tea. And if you want to know anything else, just say it, because I tell it.
Just say it because she'll tell it. Listen, there's so many different things that you said in there of all the different careers. We definitely want to touch on that because I get that question often from clients. Like, what if I'm multi-talented or multi-passionate? Like, what do I focus on? How do I do these things? But listen, you have an anniversary coming up. You just recently celebrated a birthday. So I feel like we just need to take a moment, First Class family, and just give Ayana some hand claps. We got to celebrate with you. Yes. So, You mentioned a generational curse breaker. We definitely got to touch on that, y'all. Listen, I hope y'all got y'all pens and papers ready because I already see like my wheels are turning, okay? But first, let's go to all of these different career paths. We gonna start with massage therapist because I had a heartbreaking moment just this morning. And listen, will y'all share my story, please? So this morning, y'all know how people post on social media that, oh, my hairstylist done called the day of, and I already knew she was and they be all sad because their appointment has been made for weeks. Well, that didn't happen to me, but it happened with my massage appointment. I was actually supposed to have a massage today, and my phone rang this morning, and I looked at it, and it was the massage salon, and I was like, no, my heart sank because I was like, they never called me day of. And I answered the phone, I said, hello. And they said, yes, you have an appointment scheduled for 2. And I was like, yes. And they were like, your massage therapist is sick. Nah. Oh, I was so heartbroken. Okay, family, I'm sorry. I just had to get that off my chest so we can proceed. But listen, you have done all of these different careers. I know that that is a big struggle for many people, whether it's having so many different things that they want to do and not knowing where to go, or whether it's knowing they don't want to do something, but not being willing to pivot or change, kind of a fear of that change. So which one was it for you? Was it you just want to try all the things, or was it, I don't like this anymore, let me try something else?
It was more of, I have children to take care of, and I need to find the quickest way to make money. And so my journey started in the military. I had joined the military at 19. It was on a whim. I went with my friend. She was signing up. And then I heard all these benefits, and I was like, you get this, you get that, you get this. And I was already 18 at the time. So I was like, where do I sign up? And so I ended up joining the military. But then I became pregnant with my son. So I left and I came home. His dad stayed in. And that's where the journey started. I had just graduated high school. I didn't go to college right away, and I needed to make ends meet. And so I went to school. I got my associate's degree. I started my career in HR. And then I didn't really like the job per se. I liked the work. I didn't like the job. So then I had my second son, and I left, and I decided I wasn't going to go back. And I was like, well, what can I do now? And of course, do you remember those commercials that used to come on for like Job Connection and like massage therapy, and you can learn this trade? And I got sucked in, and that's actually how I tripped in and fell into massage therapy. But then I ended up loving it so much because I realized I could make my own schedule. I could still be the mom I wanted to be, and I could travel to people's homes. And then I had a passion. We had one class where we had to work on pregnant women. And from there, I was like, this is it. This is life. This is what I was meant to do. And so I took extra trainings in childbirth education. I became a doula. I taught I did pre and postpartum massage therapy services, and created a whole package around taking care of mom for, when she had her new baby, because that was one service that my mom, may she rest in peace, she provided to me as a nurse. She was a pediatric nurse. And so when I had my son at 19, she was there from beginning to end. And I wanted to make other women feel the same. So that's how I got into massage therapy, but then it expanded and I became way much more than that. And then I ended up leaving the field because being a doula, you're on call 24/7 because you're there for the birth. And I couldn't just up and leave my kids at any given moment. I realized that the work-life balance was no longer working. So I went back to work in human resources, and I was a career coach for a program for women who were receiving state benefits, and they were on it for so long that the state was now sort of segueing them off of the benefits, and they had to get a job. So then I would teach them career coaching. And from there, I would show them how who they were as a mom was transitional into a 9-to-5 job. So all that calendar management you did for your kids, all the scheduling of appointments that you did for your kids, all the transportation services that you coordinated for your kids. Yeah, those are transferable skills into a 9 to 5 job. You see what I'm saying? The budget, like you trying to manage phone calls, you got meetings, right? Parent teacher meetings, pediatric meetings, like you have all these meetings. That's like you are awesome. And so just showing them the value that they actually bring to the table, and that welfare doesn't define who they are, that they get to define who they are. And so I got laid off from that job, and I was like, all right, well, what next? I was pregnant with my third child at the time. And I was like, what am I going to do now? And so I remembered that I like to bake. So I started baking little cakes here and there. And then people would say, oh, where did you go to school? And I'm like, oh, this is self-taught. I worked with my dad, et cetera, et cetera. And then they would give me this look. And I was like, I don't like that look. Like, don't look at me like that when I say I'm self-taught. So I went to culinary school to get credentials. So 15 months later, I was certified pastry chef, and then I opened my pastry business for 6 years, and it served well. I helped other home-based bakers get their businesses off the ground. And then when I closed my business, I donated all my equipment to other home-based bakers who were getting started or needed more equipment and couldn't afford it. And they got things like mixers, baking stands, baking, like all the necessities that I had invested in my business. I was like, please just take it so it can be of good use. And then went back into human resources, went back into the 9 to 5 and stayed there until I realized employee relations was my sweet spot. Helping people solve their problems, helping managers work out with their employees, but also helping new managers figure out their management style and what they needed to bring to the table. And that's when I realized throughout all of the professions that I've had, it was always about serving. It was always about serving. That was the common denominator. And so when we talk about what is our purpose, what am I here to do? The ultimate thing for me that was across the board was serving. So that's kind of my Jacqueline of all trades.
Nice. Listen. It's what I heard as you were saying that was that you understand when a season has ended.
Yes.
Because you had all these different things and you were like, okay, this served me for this season and now it's not working anymore. So let me transition into something else. Let me identify something else that will work in this season of now. Because in thinking about just, interactions with others and I've even had my time with this before, but holding on to a season
Right.
when we know it's time to let go and we're only causing our own pain, our own discomfort to be prolonged because it's like I know I need to let go of this, but that regular paycheck looks good. Or in a relationship, I know this relationship is not good for me, but it's comfortable. I know what's going to happen, even if I don't like what's going to happen. I'm fearful of being alone, or, just the different ways that we can be in a season and not let go. So what advice would you give to those that are listening where they might be ignoring that voice inside that says, this season is over, it's time to move on?
Looking for amazing products to help boost your first-class lifestyle? Then head over to firstclasslifeshop.com, where you can treat yourself to personal development books and workbooks, lifestyle affirmation cards, adult coloring books, mugs, notebooks, hoodies, t-shirts, leggings, and more. All products were designed to help you master your mindset, walk in your purpose, and live your first-class life because you deserve it. So treat yourself today at firstclasslifeshop.com. Again, that's firstclasslifeshop.com.
Lean into it. As uncomfortable as it may feel, or may, sort of get into your spirit, like, I'm not sure if I can do this. I'm not sure if this is the next step into it anyway. Because sometimes you are being released from a season. Sometimes you are being released from a person. Sometimes you're being released from a circumstance. But if you want to continue to hold on to it, then you also have to let go of blaming other people for where you are. So either you want to release and get into your next, no matter how uncomfortable it is, or you want to stay where you are and blame other people for where you are. You have a decision to make. Every time that I left a profession, and I had children, like it wasn't like I was doing this and I was single and I was married at the time. I had small children. And so I had people that I actually had to take care of. And every time I jumped into the next, I sometimes did it without an income. I sometimes did it having to lean on family, having to move back in with my mom. But every time I did it, it stretched me to see what was actually inside of me. And the more I did it, the closer I got to what I felt God was calling me to do. But a lot of my experiences are what brought me here today. And so staying in that season when you know you're ready to move, when you know you should move, is only going to stall your progress. It's only going to keep you where you are. And so you can't on one hand say, I'm ready for my next. I want all that God has for me. And then on the next hand say, well, I'm really comfortable where I'm at. God don't bless the comfortable. He blesses the uncomfortable. If you look at any story in the Bible, he stretches them before they grow, before they get into the abundance. Nobody just happens to wake up and be like, I'm going to be abundant today. And God's like, yeah, I got you. No, he's like, go over there and fight these people. Go over here and rescue my people. Go over here and say these things. And they all are like, really? Like, what? You want me to, what? Like, so sometimes that next season that feels uncomfortable is exactly where you're supposed to be. So trust that. Trust that this is the next for you. So yeah, that was it. I just had to believe that this was it.
Listen, God don't bless the uncomfortable. What you say? Say it again.
God don't bless the comfortable.
Okay,
He
yeah.
blesses the uncomfortable. He has to stretch you and grow you because what he's trying to do is see if you're ready. You want all this abundance. One of the things he said to me was, you want all these things, but I can't give it to you right now because your mindset is desperate. Your mindset is lack. Your mindset is still poverty. So if I give you the millions of dollars that has your name on it, catch that. I already have millions with my name on it. He can't give it to me until I'm ready. And so in order to find out if I'm ready, he has to put me in certain scenarios, which means he has to change my seasons. Because in each season, there's something that he needs me to develop in my character to be ready to receive this John 10:10 life, this abundant life, all the things that he has for me. Because if I'm not ready, he's not just going to give it to anybody. We heard the story of the talents and the one who had one and he buried it and was like, I'm not going to touch it. And God was like, you're wicked. Like, really? I give you this talent, this gift, this ability, and you're just going to bury your head in the sand with me? Like I designed this gift and this talent specifically for you, and only the way that you can do it. And so sometimes we'll bury it because we want to stay in that season. But then other times we'll jump into our next, make the investment, and then we'll see it come back tenfold. We'll get the double and the increase. And God says, you've been faithful over the few. So let me give you more. Mm-hmm. So trust the next season because in there's an opportunity to double it and receive more than you ever could have imagined.
Yes, you've been faithful over the few, so let me give you more. And I think that is an important lesson for everyone to pick up on. Like, how you manage the little is how you'll manage the big. It's just like when people win the lottery and they end up broke a couple years later, it's because it's not having more money that solves all the problem. Like, how you manage $5 is how you'll manage $5 million. So until you can faithfully be trusted with $5, 5 cents, 50 cents, $1, $20, like you're not going to get the thousands and the millions and the billions. And it's the same with our gifts. Like when we want promotions and different things like that, if you aren't able to, do well and serve well in your secretarial position or in your entry level position or with your small business, then how can you be trusted to have a team of 10, a team of 100, manage a whole floor, things like that. So that is so important to recognize.
Yeah, because even like take your the podcast, like take your title, the First Class Lifestyle. Now think about when you're on the plane, right? And you go from coach to first class, you get like double the leg room, you get double the seat, you get double the service, you get double the view because you're up front, you get double the access. They wait on you, can press a button and they're there for you hand and foot. Now imagine if you started in first class, you wouldn't know how to act when you got back to like if you had to go back to coach, you would be all bougie. You would be like, oh, don't touch me. Like I have to sit next to two other people and there's a baby. There's no curtain. There's no special service. The air back here sucks. Like, so you have to work your way up to this first class lifestyle because you have to appreciate what it took to be in coach. You have to absolutely appreciate what it took to be in coach and what you did to get to first class. It's not that you can't have the first class lifestyle. It's that everything that happened in coach led you to the first class lifestyle. And now you can actually reap the reward, reap the benefit. You can reap the harvest that God had for you. And now when you get in first class, you're there with humility. You're able to say thank you. You're able to say, have a good day. You're able to have a conversation with the person next to you and not feel like it's an inconvenience. First class is not always about luxury, but it always encompass, or it should always encompass humility because it will carry you farther. Then you can really enjoy that first class lifestyle. Because then people will like it.
It makes me think of an analogy of like a video game. We all start on level 1 and there's certain tools that you have to unlock or certain achievements that you have to gain before you can make it to level 2. And, sometimes we might Google cheat codes, but then what happens is you can't properly succeed at level 3 because you didn't gain the skills and the knowledge and all the tools that you needed in level 1 and 2. You just like skipped ahead. And I think that happens when sometimes we get things before it's our time because we're such in a rush and we try to skip over things that we need to achieve or accomplish in our lives to succeed at that next level. And so it's like, all right, take your time, work through level 1, and then you advance and work through level 2. And everything you learned in level 1 and level 2 is going to help you succeed at level 3.
Yes, that is it. Listen, I used to like Super Mario was my game. Oh man, I still got a Super Nintendo. Like that's how much I am there. You know what I'm saying? It's still hooked up. The kids are like, how do I play this? Like the controllers are all foreign to them. And I explained to them, like, and I got Yoshi. So I'm like, you got to get Yoshi. Like, Yoshi is, you know what I'm saying? Then you got to learn how to fly the cape so that you can, do all these things. And they're just like, this is not like the games that we play. I'm like, no, it requires strategy now. Like, you have to actually think to get from one level to the next to the next. And I'm like, they even black out the levels. So you can't even access them until you complete sort of this foundational work. So all the work that I put in as a massage therapist, as a doula, as a breastfeeding consultant, as an HR director, all this work that I put in over the years has led to this opportunity to be a life coach because now I've lived life. I can tell you what it's like to be on food stamps and welfare. I can tell you what it's like to have to take the bus with, and you got all these kids. I can tell you what it's like to try to do your best to prevent being evicted so you move back in with family, with your husband and your kids. Like I can tell you about all those things. One thing I always tell my clients and just people in general, people are always going to judge you. So they might as well judge you on your truth. So the sooner you can accept it of what your life was and what it is and where it's going, the less people can tell you who you are, where you're going, and what you should be able to do. And so that's why I say, if you ask me, I'm going to tell it. My kids, they know. If you ask me, I'm going to tell it. And we talk about everything because I want you to know that there's somebody who's going through or has gone through where you're at, and you're not alone. And I get it. I absolutely get it. So I say that to say, don't despise and don't bury your past life. Go back and get the wisdom because that is where God is going to propel you, because that is the story. That is the narrative that he wants to get out to the world, because wherever you were, it's where somebody is right now. And now you can go back and reach down and pick them up so that they don't have to be in that place for a long time. So even though I remember a mentor said, you're a jack of all trades, but a master of none. And that stuck with me for a long time. And now when I look at my life, I'm like, oh, I may not have been a master in any of those trades because I wasn't supposed to be. But the generational change agent that I am now, baby, I mastered. And that came because I didn't master or try to master things that weren't called for me to master. So go back, look at your past, pull the wisdom, and then use that to propel you into your future or your first class lifestyle.
Okay. Now let's talk a little bit more about what that means, a generational change agent. Why is that important? Tell us about it.
Yes, ma'am, because I saw a generational curse play out before my eyes.
You know we want the story.
The juice, honey, because so my mom passed away a little over a year and a half ago from COVID suddenly. But prior to her passing, I was picking up my son at his job. He worked at Amazon. And so he worked like a late shift. So he worked from like 1 to 1 a.m. So I was picking him up. This guy, we're in the car, we're talking, and I had just purchased this car. So this guy pulls into the side next to us. He hits the back of the car. It's raining. It's dark. The parking lot isn't well lit. My mom, I'm 5'3". My mom's probably she was like 5'1". But she hopped out that car so quick. When I tell you, I said, you know how I'm supposed to be upset, but she upset. And I'm like, but I'm supposed to be upset. Now I can't be upset because you over upset. You got my upset and you're upset. And now I can't even be upset. So she's yelling at the guy. She's out the car. This guy's like 6 feet. So she's like at his chest. She's yelling. She got her fingers going. I can't believe you hit the car. She's going and ripping and running. Now my mom is a very quiet person. So when she gets upset, you know she's upset. Because she's not like this usually. But she's yelling. And I'm just looking but I'm the one that's supposed to be. It's my car. I'm the one that's upset. So as I'm watching her, and she's like slamming her hands on the car, and I'm watching her. And then God took me to a flashback as I'm watching her to about 2 or 3 years prior, where I was in the airport. And I was trying to put my boys on a flight to California to see their uncle, my brother. And TSA and the ticket agency, the ticket booth, they were giving me mixed information so that I could walk them to the gate because they were 16 and 12 at the time. So I'm like, I need to walk them to the gate. They're not going to just go through the airport lost. And so they're like, you need this pass, you need this. I don't know why they told you that. And I'm just getting the runaround. So here I am. It's 2:00 in the morning and I'm yelling at the TSA agent. And who do I look like? My mom. I can't believe you guys. I'm over this. This is so stupid. You guys are stupid. And my sons are looking at me like, it is way too early for this. My husband is like, well, here we go. And so my son got on the plane and he sent me a text message. And he said, Mom, I need you to do me a favor. Now I'm thinking he left the TV on. He wants me to, do something for him around the house, turn something off. He was like, I need you to do me because it's important. And I was like, I was like, oh, okay. All I responded was, okay. And I made it to start working on my anger. And then I saw my mom in that moment. And as he flashed me back to my behavior, he also showed me my grandmother. And then he showed how it was starting to show up in my daughter. And then he said, you can fix it. You can do something about it. And I was like, well, God, show me what I'm supposed to do. And so he brought me through this healing journey to really understand the anger, where it's rooted in, what trauma produced the anger, and then why I show up with passive aggressiveness, why I show up with anger, why I'm always responding with these trauma responses, and how I can change it in me so I can change it in my daughter. And so from that's where the generational change agent was born, because I knew if I could do it for me and my daughter, then I could help other Black moms, very specific, other Black moms do the same for not only themselves, but also so that they can change the trauma responses in their children. And so what people don't understand is that breaking a generational curse is really about understanding what the curse is to begin with. It's not some magical or mystical thing. It's really looking at your trauma responses, understanding where they started, and then telling yourself the truth of what happened, forgiving yourself, grieving the trauma that happened to you, and then creating a new narrative So we cancel these negative narratives and then we change them to the absolute truth of what God was doing in that moment. And sometimes it's a hard truth to accept. But once you accept it, nobody can change it because the truth is the truth is the truth. And so once you understand that, your life changes. And so because I am on a mission, that's where the agent comes in. And I've accepted the mission. Should you choose to accept? And I said, okay, God, I accept it. And he said, the enemy is going to come for you because you're snatching people back from the things he's trying to keep them in bondage. And I was like, okay, surround me with people who understand that, who get the assignment and will cover me as I'm going through. So it is a battlefield. This is why I have the platform Warrior Womanhood, because that's who we're called to be. It's not some little sweet name. Like that was actually what he ascribed to Eve when he made her. He designed her to be a warrior. And if anybody don't believe me, you can search it up. Ezer. It's called an Azer. And it is a warrior. And it's actually how he refers to himself. So women are warriors. It is my mission to make sure that all Black women know that they are warriors, to reclaim their birthright, and to walk in the authority and the power and the strength and the courage that God has already assigned them before they were even formed in the womb. This is your birthright. Nobody can take it away from you because no person on the earth gave it to you. So yes, ma'am, that is a generational change agent. Yes. And I believe I'm the only one. Amen, somebody.
Are you loving the First Class Life Show? Then join our private Patreon community. Not only will you help to support our ability to provide you with great content, but you can also get exclusive perks like bonus videos and resources, discounts, episode transcripts, and more. So what are you waiting for? Join today at patreon.com/First Class Life. Again, that's Patreon, patreon.com/First Class Life.
Listen, and it's so important now. All my Black women that are tuned in, make sure you are taking notes, and all my non-Black women that are tuned in, or men that are tuned in, ask yourself how you can support a Black woman today, okay? Because it's important. It is very important. Don't tune out just because we focused in on Black women for a moment, but ask yourself, okay, how does this play out in my own life? How can I be of support to a Black woman in this way to help her on this mission? But listen, as soon as you said, my son texted me, I was like, oh, he about to get you together. Lord, I'm glad y'all was not in the same room, okay?
Won't they do it? Oh, man, they call you out, honey.
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
they call you out. Put your business in the streets.
Mm-hmm. Now, I wanted to make sure that I pointed out to the First Class family that is listening that, you might not be aware of the term generational curse and what that means. And we aren't talking about like magical voodoo or someone put a spell on you type of thing, but you saw it play out in the illustration that Ayana just gave, where the beliefs and the patterns are passed down from generation to generation to generation. And that's what we term a generational curse. And this can go in the positive or negative direction, obviously, but oftentimes it's those negative things that are passed down that make the biggest impact. And so, especially in families that have suffered trauma throughout the years, especially in America, the Black family, right? So you saw like how she illustrated the anger that was passed down from woman to woman to woman throughout the generations. And so being aware and mindful of what is it, identifying it, like she said, and then being willing to heal it. And so I want to ask you, Ayana, because I know that there is a lot of weight that comes with breaking a generational pattern, breaking a generational belief, breaking that generational curse that is placed up on our families. What would you say to that person that feels the weight of breaking that? Like, how can they stay encouraged? How can they stay motivated? How can they keep fighting the good fight and not want to give up to where the cycle just continues?
So one of the things, or one of the myths one of the mindset shifts that I attack right away is that healing is hard and that healing takes a long time. The truth is, healing is not hard. It is work, but it's not hard work. Healing just requires you to open yourself to understanding exactly what it is that you are dealing with. So for someone that's now recognizing, regardless of race, regardless of gender, someone that's now recognizing my aunt used to do this, or my mom and dad used to do this, and then my grandmother used to do that. And like now you're starting to look back and you're starting to see patterns. Oh, we're always getting divorced. It's it's like, how do you know that this is showing up? It's when you're saying to yourself, oh, we always, in my family, all of those different types of things that you can categorize to we or always, or this is just the way I was, and fill in the blank. When you start having those thoughts, just remember that it takes understanding. When you understand something, it takes the weight off. So think about a time where you were just completely confused. You didn't know what the response was. You didn't know how to answer a particular question, how to address a particular situation. Maybe there was some miscommunication and you spent days, maybe weeks, trying to ponder and figure out what's the solution. And then when you were able to understand whether it's a different perspective, what the actual problem was, you got to the root. When you were able to, see it a different way, when you were able to think outside the box and find a creative solution, how clear did you feel at that moment? Like, yes, I can do something about this because now I know. And so that's why healing is not hard. It's an opportunity for you to look at what you're dealing with. I always tell my clients, please look up the definition of whatever it is that you think that you're feeling at that moment. Because in the definition, you can actually start to ask yourself different types of questions. Look at the synonym of anger. Am I this? Am I that? Because anger is such a vague term. But when I peeled it back for myself, I understood that I had different scenarios where my personal power was taken. So in order for me to feel powerful, I had to become angry to get my power back because I wasn't in control. When I understood that, and I understood that I always have my personal power, like nobody can strip it away. I always can use my voice. I always can remind myself of my value. When I understood that, I no longer had to become angry. I just reminded myself of who I was and whose I was. And then I could use that now to engage in a conversation. But then I also knew my trigger. Like if somebody said something that I felt like was taking my personal power, that was taking my voice, I could politely excuse myself from the conversation and I could decide not to engage. So I took control back in a very positive way. This is why it's not hard. It just requires you to understand exactly where you are. And so by doing that, you then take the weight off of your shoulders to be able to fix it. Because when we're looking at fixing it, sometimes we are looking at generations that we need to fix. You're not going to fix your grandmother. You're not going to fix your mom. You're not going to fix the aunt. You're not going to fix the cousin, but you can only fix you. And when you fix you, you therefore change the dynamics of all those relationships. Some people are going to like it. Some people are not. Be okay with that. Be okay with that. Because they then now see some things in themselves that they're like, I liked you when you were comfortable for me, and now you're no longer comfortable for me. And so now I want you to either get back so I can be comfortable, or they're going to challenge who you're becoming. Sis, please walk in who you're becoming. It's not going to serve anybody if you go back to make somebody else's comfortable. Like, I'm not going to stay in your box. I'm not going to live in your box. God didn't design me for your box. He designed me for his, and his has no limit. There's no glass ceiling. He says you can go as high as you want. And so go as high as you need to go. And sometimes it's not because I want to be mindful of like just the cancel culture. You know what I mean? Like just forget them. Some people are just toxic. You got to just, not be in a relationship with them, fire, all these different types of terminology we have out there. And here's the thing, you can still be in relationship with some people. You just don't have to be in relationship in the same way, like because you're changing and you're evolving. So you can just categorize them in a different place. They may not be your best friend anymore, but they may be somebody you're cool with. And that's okay. You don't have to completely cancel them out. It's like, sis, we cool. We're just not best friends.
Right.
And just
Like
walk.
promote or demote as needed,
Exactly.
I can love you from a distance.
Basically.
Listen, that was so good. And it's very important to point out, like how you said, you can't be worried about changing grandma and mom and great grandma and all that stuff, or grandpa, because they are responsible for their own change. Key point. But you will exhaust yourself trying
Yes.
to change all of them. So you have to work on you and let the overflow of who you've become either convict them to do their own self-discovery and their own changing, or it's not, but you can't be responsible for other people. So I'm so glad that you mentioned that part, because, it's already exhausting enough trying to
Right.
break patterns, trying to break the cycles and build better for not only yourself, but everyone that is connected to you. So that was so good and juicy. Listen, I think that this is a good time to play a little game. Okay.
Yes,
I can't believe we done talked for so long already. It's like
oh
flying by.
my
Let me pull up my timer. We're gonna play a little game I call First Class Favorites, and it's real simple. I'm just gonna ask you what's your favorite. Fill in the blank. You fill in the blank with your favorite, but you gotta do it in 10 seconds or less. Okay.
Okay.
Now, if you miss the buzzer, what is the consequence for the
Uh-oh.
First Class Life family? You got to come up with that. So what's the consequence if you miss the buzzer? I'll give you some examples of previous consequences. And depending on your perspective, it might be a reward. So, one time it was, let's see, you got to do 5 push-ups. That would have been a consequence for me. Another time it was you got to take a shot. Another time it was you got to compliment somebody that you don't like or you're not fond of. So yes, you can pick whatever you want the consequence to be if you miss the buzzer.
All right. Let's see. I think I'll take the compliment. Somebody I'm not fond of.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if the buzzer's miss, you have to give a genuine compliment to someone you're not fond of, you don't like, you're not feeling, that person that you're loving from a distance for good reason, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
So we'll start with an easy one. What's your favorite color and why? Go.
Blue because it's peaceful.
See, look, you're a pro. You still have 6 seconds left. What is your favorite activity to do to relax? Go.
Dance.
Yes.
I love to
Okay.
dance.
Dance session. Speaking of dance, what is your favorite song, title, and author? Go.
It is A Funky Good Time by the JBs. Very old school. It's one me and my dad used to dance to all the time.
I don't know why I did my shoulders like this, but I feel
Listen, when you hear it, I'm going to have to play it for you one time.
like
Yeah.
For those of you that are tuned in on audio only, please go over to the YouTube and watch the video so you can
Yes.
see.
Listen, I'm all for it. This is usually my show. This is how people know I'm about to get started right here. That shoulder.
Yes, you are invited to the party, Ayana. What is your favorite book, title, and author? Go.
Right now, it is currently Viola Davis's book. I can't remember the name of it, but that book was everything. It was raw. It was real. It was, child. It was so good. It was so good. I can't think of the name of it, but I listened to it. I usually do Audible, and I listened to it twice now because it was just, it was
Look, we're about to do. What is the title of Viola Davis's book?
Man, I can't.
Books by Viola Davis include Finding Me, a memoir, and Corduroy Takes a Bow.
Yes.
I do not have that one. So, like in my office, I have 1, 2, 3 bookshelves, and so, but only like my favorite books are allowed in my office. Either my favorite books or like my personal development books and stuff like that. And so, but they're all categorized. Like I have my whole personal development bookshelf that's over there. Then right here that you can't see on the camera, I have like my spiritual shelf with all my favorite like spiritual books. Up on the
Yeah.
top, you see those are all the books written by my friends that I know in real life and stuff.
I need to get on that bookshelf. I'm about to send you some books. I'm about to get on that bookshelf.
Like there, I have like the good memoirs and stuff. Like I got Cicely Tyson,
Oh, that was good.
Jennifer and Howard, Michelle Obama. So
Yeah.
I do not have Viola Davis's book yet. I'm gonna have to put
Yeah.
that in there.
It is good. It is raw. Be prepared. But when you hear her story, it just puts into perspective her acting abilities. And sometimes you think that these actors come from all of these great beginnings. And, just to hear her story, living in a house where rats were crawling over her, she was protecting herself, like just unimaginable living conditions and racism that she had to endure. And you just see how people persevere. And it's just a reminder that regardless of how you came up, it's not the end of your story. It's just a chapter or a season in your life. And she used and was able to, Taraji P. Henson's book is also like that, where they use the circumstances of their childhood to really propel them into the women that they are today. And whenever they get a character, they pull from certain parts of the trauma that they experienced to really live it. And so, you always think, I don't know if I could play that role. Well, they dug deep and they just pulled the wisdom.
You want to know what just came to me? I'm feeling like a theme, a pattern in our conversation. It's about embracing your flaws.
Yeah.
Because you mentioned earlier, about not trying to hide from the past and the experiences that you've been through, but instead, like, you'll tell it all. Like that's a part of you. It led you to who you are today. And then with Viola and Taraji, like understanding like, no, they're able to play that role so well because they're pulling from their past traumas and putting it into the part. And so one thing I say about when you're living your first class life is that it's not about like pretending to be all these things. Instead, it's about shedding away all of the masks that we put on day in and day out, and instead showing up boldly and confidently as who you are and who God's called you to be, and embracing your flaws and all. Because that is a part of your purpose and your destiny. So the longer you try to hide it and shun it and push it down, you're only prolonging your own suffering. You're only prolonging the suffering of the people you're meant to serve. And so you really have to just embrace every part of you.
Right. Listen, and let the church say, amen.
Amen.
Y'all can pass the collection plate. Okay, just make sure you get it over to Lindsey because she just delivered y'all a word. Okay, everybody? All right, y'all about to be different after this podcast. I promise you that.
Right? And we're going to split it with the good Pastor Henderson, okay?
Listen, we're going to free some people today.
Yes. Okay. I went off on a tangent,
yes,
but it was a good tangent.
It was.
Okay. What is your favorite place to travel specifically? Go.
To the airport. This is so weird, but I love watching planes take off because I like to let my imagination run wild. And so I can imagine what the flight is like, where they're going. I like the sound of it. The fact that they're so massive and they're like flying right over me. I don't know if it's just like a childhood thing or what, but I am so like infatuated with airplanes. So if I could just go somewhere and just be at peace, it would probably be the airport and I would just park and watch the planes take off. Like, I know it's super corny, but that's me.
Hey, that works for you, right? And that's important about doing things that make us feel good for us, not being worried about what other people think. So, okay, I might have to add a little explanation to that one, but it's gonna work. What is your favorite drink? You can't say water. Go.
Alcoholic, it would be a Dirty Diana. And that is a little piece of heaven. It is a little piece of heaven. So that is, right. It is peach Ciroc and then it has pineapple, cranberry, and orange, and you layer the juices so it creates sort of a similar look to the sunrise. And then you add like a little strawberry on top. So it is just a little piece of heaven. It is like, it will sneak up on you. Okay. I've learned the hard way. Okay. After about 6 or 7 on one good birthday, I was like, oh, this is an apple juice. Okay. Yes. Okay. I got this. And then non-alcoholic sweet tea.
I like
Good
my
old
sweet tea with the side of diabetes.
Right.
I like it sweet, okay? See, not syrupy, but I need a little more sugar in there. But listen, Dirty Diana, you had me until you said cranberry juice. I'm not a fan of cranberry juice, but I still want to try the drink, and I feel like I'm gonna have to be like, Alexa, play Michael Jackson while I'm singing the song.
PYT, as a matter of fact. Okay, that's the one.
Play Michael Jackson, Dirty Diana, while you sipping at Dirty Diana.
Yes.
But listen, thank you for playing First Class Favorite Things. We had to get through a couple of those because some of those answers will be put onto our uniquely curated list of, Oprah has her favorite things. Well, First Class Family has our list of First Class favorites, okay? So you will be able to have access to our reading list, our song playlist, where we like to travel because we are cultured people, all right? And our favorite activities to do to relax because we're all about self-care. And if you want access to this list, then all you got to do is make sure you are a part of our Patreon community where you can get bonus footage, like you're going to see some bonus knowledge and nuggets from the lovely Ayana, and you can get access to our First Class Favorite Things list. Okay, so subscribe to our Patreon, honey. Yes. Now, back into this discussion because I can't believe we're almost out of time. It's so good. It's so juicy. This is going to be a longer episode, y'all, okay? So just deal. Now, in thinking about living your first class life, for those of you that are unaware, First Class Life is actually an acronym, and it stands for all of the different characteristics and skills that you want to embody into your lifestyle to help you create a life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness. And when you're creating a first class life, not only does it have you live a fulfilled life, but also everybody connected to you. So it's a ripple effect. So don't think of it as you're being selfish because actually you are doing the world a service. That's when you're making your maximum potential. You're making your maximum impact whenever you are creating a first class life for you. So I'm not going to explain what all of those letters mean right now. If you want to find out, you can do one of two things. You can either go to firstclasslifeshop.com and buy the book, First Class Life, where I break each of those characteristics down, or you can go listen to the very first episode of the First Class Life show, and I break them down over audio or video, so you can tune in that way as well. So first episode or go buy the book or both. How about that?
Right, that part.
Ayana, which factor do you feel that you resonate with the most?
I would say faithful. If it's not clear, my faith is everything to me. And it has carried me through some of the most trying times of my life. I lost both my parents within a 15, 16-month period. And that was probably one of the most challenging things. I was also separated from my husband for a year, and I was previously married and had gone through a divorce as well. And then I had also miscarried twins. And through, God has just been good. It's so undeniable. I don't know if you've seen the movie Case for Christ, when he comes to the realization that Jesus is real. And it's undeniable to him. And he has this moment that the one reason that he can't deny is that Jesus is love. And so my faith carries me through all of the other characteristics of first class life. Without it, my foundation is nothing. So I don't try to evangelize, I'm not trying to convert anybody, but I just will say for me, as the book says, for me and my house, we will serve the Lord all of our days, because he has just been so, so good. And it's so amazing because I don't push God on my children, but we talk about Jesus. My daughter says, well, in the Bible, and she had me. I'm like, ma'am, that's not what the Bible says. But it's an opportunity for us to then say, well, what does the Bible say? And my 17-year-old just came to me the other day. I wrote a post about it where he asked me if I had an additional Bible. Now, I have many versions of the Bible because I feel like I need to really understand it. So I want to see the different contexts in which the Bible was written. And I said, oh, why you need a Bible? And I'm thinking it's for school, some sort of project. And he was like, oh, I just want to know God. I said, say what now? Say that in my good ear. Say that again.
Come again.
And so I just have to believe that as they've watched my life transition from this angry, bitter, resentful, foul-mouthed, passive aggressive mom to who I am today, that they can see that Jesus has done a work in me. And because of that, they now want to get to know God for themselves so that they can have a foundation to stand on. So for me, it would be faithful, but more so the faith so that I can be full.
Oh, the faith so that I could be full.
Yes, ma'am.
The faith so that I could be full.
Yes.
Yes. Full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness. Okay.
There it is. Yes.
Came back.
Right.
So share with us, please. How do you impact the world as a leader today?
I do that by accelerating people's healing journey. We have traditional therapy, and I don't knock traditional therapy. I was in it for 2 years, and it was definitely helpful in the most trying times of my life when I was in my separation from my husband and the death of my mom and dad. But I have found a way to accelerate it by being able to specifically pinpoint the different types of emotional wounds that you're dealing with and the percentage that you are dealing with it. And that's usually like in the first year or two of therapy. So because of this one assessment, you're able to now see it right there in real time. And now we can target those particular ones immediately. Having that allows you to take advantage and reclaim the time that you would have spent trying to figure it out on your own so that you can become a more effective leader within your personhood and then the people that you actually serve. So that is the way that I impact the world, or my little part of it.
Hey, and we know that it's the little things that add up to the big moments. So your grand part of the scheme, all right?
Say that.
Yes. Now, I know you have a few things that the people can get into their lives. Tell us about them.
So real proud of these two projects that we just completed. So the first one is just my solo book. It's called Girl, You Are a Warrior. And it actually walks you through my healing journey and some of the assessments that I actually use that I just mentioned here. Those assessments are entirely free. So I give you the cheat code so that you can access this to start accelerating your journey. So you can find this on my website, and it's called warriorwomanhood.com. And then this latest project that we just wrapped up is an anthology. It's called Good Grief, 14 inspiring stories of finding the goodness in your grief. Because again, through and through, God has just been so good. My children are actually authors in the book. So they are now Amazon bestselling authors as of today. So super excited about that. And they share their struggle with grief, but how they were able to find the goodness despite the different type of loss that they experience. It is my goal to make sure that people see God in it through it all. Again, not evangelizing and not forcing you to take up Christianity if you are not Christian, but I do believe in the power of the work that God has done in my life. And so those are just a couple of the projects that I'm currently promoting and working on as well. But the website is www.warriorwomanhood.com. Right.
And listen, I don't have to remember that. You just click on the show notes, the description off to the side, whether top, bottom, left, right. You can find it. You smart people.
So you can find me on Facebook, Ayana M. Henderson. My profile's public. Just send me a friend request.
Click on it right
I like new
there.
friends. I don't subscribe to the no new friends. I like new friends. I want to meet y'all. I want to talk to y'all. I also have a Facebook community, which is free. It's called Warrior Womanhood, as you can guess. And so you would just search Warrior Womanhood and you'll see the community come up and you can just submit a request to join. And then on Instagram, I am at Warrior Womanhood Coach. So you can connect with me there as well. So yeah, pretty simple. Warrior Womanhood. You'll find me. Yeah, so there is this quote that I have, and unfortunately it's backwards, but I'm going to shift my screen a little bit because it's right there on this side here. And it says, no one can take your value because you were born with it. And so it's really a reminder that there's only one person who gave you your value, whether you consider it to be the universe, God, the creator, however you identify, the Most High. There's only one being that actually gave you your value, that actually gave you your purpose. We sometimes have people that come along and it damages or it causes us to second guess or doubt. But I just want to remind you that there's no human being on the planet of this earth that can take your value away. You were born with it and you will die with it. The question is, will you live with it?
Mm.
Yeah. This is for the building fund, y'all, the building fund.
Mm. That was good. All right. I drop right there. Yes, now we're going to do a second offering. Pass the plate. Right. Need to build a new annex. Okay. Listen, we love y'all know we like to have fun while we keep it real and raw here in the First Class Life videos. And I just want to take a moment to thank you for being a part of our First Class Life family, because I know you could be doing anything in the world right now, but you have took your time to knit with us, and we do not take that lightly. We are grateful that you are willing to just share a moment for us. And so thank you for allowing us to pour into you. Thank you for allowing us to serve you. And make sure that you tune in every week for brand new episodes of the First Class Life Show. And it is all to help you maximize your impact while you are creating your first class life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness. Why? Because you absolutely deserve it. Until next time, bye.
Unfortunately, all good things must come to an end. But please be sure to subscribe to the First Class Life Show. And don't forget to rate, leave a review, and join our private community so that we can continue to provide you with great personal development conversations to help you maximize your impact while creating a life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness. You deserve it. Do you want to be surrounded by other high-achieving women who are working on their goals just like you? Are you looking for your circle that's passionate about their own growth yet still wants to see you shine? Do you desire to be supported through collaborations and connections instead of competition? Then Cowork and Chill is your place to be. Cowork and Chill is a hybrid of virtual co-working and virtual networking. It's a community of women who are striving to build living legacies. This is the space to create meaningful relationships with other equally yoked women where you're being poured into just as much as you pour out. So if you're looking for your crew for supportive accountability, then sign up today at coworkandchill.com. That's COWORKANDCHILL, coworkandchill.com.